Here's the context. 2021 Valentine's Challenge Quest. 3 casters, 2 with low HP, 1 with high HP. The boss takes less damage when Book 1 is alive. When Book 1 dies, the boss gets 3 ticks on her NP gauge and applies a delayed charm on the player's female team members. When Book 2 dies, the boss gets Pierce Invuln and a large attack buff for 1 turn and applies a delayed Stargen debuff on the player's team. Here's the plan. I spent the first turn or so building NP and killing Book number 2. That wastes the Pierce Invuln, that wastes the attack buff. I have Martha for 2 reasons. 1, smack Book 1 in with her NP, and 2, remove the charm that she gets after the smack. Hans is just there for stars and battery. I have a Scorpius to lock down those debuffs and deal with their NP. Habitrot there is to nuke the books when she resummons them and help Murasaki, Ryder, of course, live longer. Fuma's just there if I need the evade later. Let's go. Okay, she got an Arts Chain. I can definitely get her NP by turn 3. Cool, good crit chance. Okay, she got 35% from an unboosted Arts crit. Nice, that's an NP. NP Seal delays the NP until turn 3. Oh, she broke the first bar. She just got 79% from an overkill arts crit with a buster starting bonus. Okay, I guess we NP again. We don't have her second skill active anymore, so we probably won't kill this turn. She's dead. Wow. Alright guys, here it is. Throw away anything, any other review of this character and print it on your brain. This is the definitive, comprehensive analysis and gameplay guide for Ryder Murasaki Shikibu. Brought to you by the guy who is the strongest one in the world, according to Rayshift. Bond 13, max gold foes, above 100. If any FGO tuber can say that they have used her more than anyone else in the world, it's probably me. Sure, there might be an elusive Japanese whale that has her 120, but I don't see them on YouTube with almost 700 subs. Solo, team play, budget, turn attack, farming, you name it, I have done that. No, I have not touched her arts cards more than I have touched individual blades of grass, but I can tell you that the intrinsic gains of grass are severely outclassed, overrated even. Ryder Murasaki has some of the best NP gain of any servant in recent years. She has an excellent kit to enable self-sufficient NP spam, as well as a nice mixture of team damage support and NP locking utility. She's also a single target arts rider, which means I have some bad news. I hate to say it, but this is Ryouma done right. They have tons of overlap at every turn, and unfortunately, the Lizard Rider consistently gets outdone by the Spider Rider. How so, you may ask? Let's get into it. Usually this is my segue into talking about her skills, but I really have to take a moment to brag about her internals. I plan on doing a video to help define a basis for good NP gain, but we are not there yet, so I will just use other servants for comparison. Remember how I talked up Young's NP gain in my review of her? Young's NP gain per hit is slightly higher than Da Vinci Rider. For comparison, Murasaki's are slightly better than Young's. She has the same hit count on all her face cards as Rider Da Vinci, but with better gain and another quick card instead of a buster card. It gets better. Young has nothing to boost her gain aside from being able to crit, but she has a good amount of battery to make up for it. Murasaki has all of that and more, minus the drain battery. She does have drain though. Let me explain. Before I explain, I'm just gonna plug myself right quick. It's very relevant, I swear. The Japanese server's anniversary is coming up next month. I'm planning on doing an AMA stream where I am going to farm for level 110 plus Ryder Murasaki. I have enough coins for 110. Drop by, say hello. I'll be ready to chat about FGO for hours on end. Please be there. I grinded 120 alone before and it was painful. Please don't leave me to that fate again. Follow my Twitch at twitch.tv/Autobino. Also join the Discord for updates regarding the stream, as well as any future YouTube videos. Links are in the description. Self-plug over. First skill is pretty basic. 30% defense debuff for 3 turns, good. Everything benefits from attack buffs or defense debuffs. NP seal for 1 turn is good. There are some reasons why this skill is better for her than most NP seals. I'll get into this soon. Second skill is where it gets really interesting. Arts resist debuff for 1 turn looks kinda meh, but the uptime is okay, and again, it will be better justified later. Skill seal is something some certain people frown upon since it makes the enemy attack more often on average, but it can be better for art servants because art supports do a lot for damage mitigation. Getting hit more is good for NP spam. She doesn't have anything to deal with the extra damage, so you build around it. Again, this factor matters a lot in her big picture. Now here's the coolest part, 100% debuff resistance debuff. There is a kinda hidden aspect to this effect. Let's get this out of the way. GamePress sucks in a lot of ways. I like the way they sort the information. Their site UI and their event guides are great, but they suck so much with things regarding gameplay. Their tier list is an absolute joke. We all know that. That aside, I really dislike that they never list it when a skill has more than 100% chance to proc when it does not scale. This is a very important factor to consider regarding debuff resistance debuffs. This is why. Look at this smug son of a bitch, sitting there all safe and secure with his big debuff resistance buff. No, fuck you. None of that. Skill seal, NP seal, get infatuated. You know what? Here's even more debuff resistance down. Attack down, crit rate down. No sir, we are not done. 60% charm? Try 235% charm. More defense down, more crit rate down. You know what? Your day isn't bad enough. Get stunned. So, I think that's a good illustration of why that's good. Debuffers generally suck because you're more likely to miss a debuff than a buff, and she can temporarily bypass one of the biggest obstacles that debuffers face, inconsistency. Great for a servant that doesn't rely on buffs. Oh, by the way, that still isn't the overarching strategy that I was referring to. Back on track. Third skill is 60% battery over 3 turns, accompanied by a burst in stars. This is an awesome skill because it helps enable NP spam. Lots of people prefer immediate battery, but the regen aspect is fantastic on her. It's very easy to get her to 79% multiple turns in a row with her massive arts cards. The stars go along with the Rider Star Absorb to make those arts cards even stronger. It has a really short cooldown too, a vanilla skill, but a very fitting skill. And then there's the NP. Single target arts, 3 hits. Don't expect star gen or refund from it. It has a normal effect of having RNG charge drain chance. It's overcharged as an arts resist debuff after damage for 3 turns. As I mentioned earlier, the arts debuff she applies on her second skill lasting only 1 turn doesn't matter that much. She immediately applies 20% afterwards, so there's very little damage fall off on consecutive turns. So, RNG charge drain on a single target arts rider. Sound familiar? Yeah, it's an objectively better version of Ryouma's NP effect-wise. I'll get back to the thing I keep referring to in a minute, I swear. Ryouma has a mediocre team attack buff for 3 turns. Murasaki has a better defense debuff for 3 turns. You're likely to use them against a single enemy, so most of the time they're effectively the same. Ryouma has a 20% team arts buff with 15 stars attached. Murasaki has a 1-turn arts resist debuff on a skill and a spammy 20% on her NP. She also has a 20 star bomb on a separate skill. Ryouma has 10% battery. Do I need to explain this comparison? Her stats are way better than his for looping, and her deck is better too. The one thing he has over her is the fact that you got him NP5 for free, but she hits almost equal at NP2. So if she is NP2, I would say that she is just better. Okay, finally, I'm going to explain what I've stalled on for so long. Phrasing. Stalled. Yes, obviously she is a stall DPS. However, she is a very consistent stall DPS. Everyone hates RNG drains on NPs because you run the risk of wasting your defensive options a turn before the enemy NPs. You might also depend on a drain that fails, resulting on an NP that occurs a turn before you use that survival. This is what sucks about Ryouma. Murasaki has several options to work around around it. Let's say the enemy has their NP. You get Castoria's NP next turn, and Murasaki has her NP. You have a 60% chance of not getting screwed. But wait, she has an NP seal. The day is saved. Even if the drain fails, you're safe for a turn. If it succeeds, the enemy is one tick away from an NP next turn, meaning that loop she just did wasn't a waste, and she can stall yet another turn safely. Here's another scenario. Quick charge skills. They're such a pain to play against. If you're a debuffer, debuff clears are really annoying too. But she has a skill seal. If you pop all of her skills on the enemy's NP turn and NP, they just aren't going to NP. It might even be multiple turns until they can. That is what I have been hinting at. Her strongest feature is her ability to completely lock down an enemy's ability to NP. Her only problem is that she needs help living. The enemy might not NP as much, but they will use normal attacks more. Again, not anything Mash or Castoria can't solve. I've already made the comparison with Ryouma. She needs NP2 to hit as hard as his free NP5, but she can also make up for the disparity by NPing a lot more often. But enough about him. He's the most comparable servant to her, but he isn't her main competition. Mandricardo is the most comparable. Ryouma is gone for God knows how many years if you didn't get him on his original runs. Ricky is here to stay. Murasaki and Mandricardo play a little similarly. They both focus on NP spam and have little bits of team support on the side. She is way better on the spammy front, but he is quite a bit more durable and has better NP damage if she is NP1. At NP2, she hits harder. She has a stall focus, and he does not have anything in that regard. Her looping is more self-sufficient since her third skill enables her NP so easily. Ricky has some interesting utility with his taunt, and maybe his second skill, if you ever end up using it. They're pretty comparable. I would say she's generally better for DPSing. I really like taunt though. Ultimately, this is up to you. You don't need her. Well, maybe a little bit. So last time when I made a review for Creamhild, I included a couple gameplay bits. People seem to overwhelmingly appreciate this. Love you, plushie. So I'll try to do it in every review from now on. This fight is usually harder for art servants because of how the evasion works. Grab some popcorn. It's time to observe. Pretty good performance. Being as maxed as she is definitely helped a bit. Her higher HP and great intrinsic gains made Black Grail an easy pick. I could have optimized the team a bit more, but I wanted to use some weirder support picks for fun. Keep in mind that normally you will use her against casters. Casters give you 20% more NP gain by default, so there were a few times she did not loop when normally she would against a caster. It's another reason why her NP gain is so good. On to the supports. As usual, Hanzo's pretty good for her. She loops very easily, but to do so, she needs to crit. 15 plus stars per turn with her Rider Absorb make her pretty likely to crit when you need her to. He helps with her complete lack of survival, too. Paracelsus offers a few nice things. His gain support pushes her arts crits to a near overkill level. You use him in tandem with another support, like Hans. One arts crit is enough for a loop, so it frees up your card choices a bit. Asclepius is pretty straightforward. He helps her live and use her NP more. The NP seal synergizes with her stall pretty well too. Mozart is what you bring if you need more damage. Rider Star Absorb doesn't usually call for a 50-star bomb. You can bring a different support with a craft essence that makes stars and get a similar effect. She doesn't need large levels of card buffs to loop like many do, since she already stacks her own debuffs. She appreciates buffers that have more than one turn of value. Still, Mozart offers a good burst if you need her to break a bar faster. Habitrot is pretty huge for her. They synergize really well since they are both arts riders. Habitrot makes stars that will help Murasaki get those juicy arts crits and helps her stay alive with her heal support. Her third skill can make her tank multiple NPs and stabilize. I haven't really used Taisui with her, but I can imagine that they would have some good synergy. He's almost 2 years away for the global server. He has a few 3-turn arts buffs and stars per turn, along with targetable guts. He's an alter ego, so it's easy to justify using him against casters. Even further away, we have Marianne. The scaling on her female buffs is pretty bad, but all of her effects are pretty good for Murasaki. Crit buffs are good for her because she already has card resistance and defense debuffs. It's the only multiplicative buff she lacks. The charge strain can help her stall as well. Then we have Murasaki? Yeah, she herself is a pretty solid damage support. 30% defense down, arts resist down, and a 20-star bomb. You can use her NP to overcharge and boost another servant. She needs very little investment to get her NP. Think of this, she comes in with a 50% craft essence. With her second pin, she can get her NP in 2 turns with her third skill and 0 card usage. Let's look at a scenario. You want to boost the heck out of your Summer Hokusai's NP. You use all of Murasaki's skills, then you use her NP to overcharge Hokusai's NP. Hokusai benefits from a 50% arts resist down and a 30% defense down, and then also gets the bonus overcharge. That's as large of a damage boost as Tamamo offers. The only problem with this is that she will take as many stars as she can, so plan around that. In conclusion, 9 out of 10. She offers some amazing NP locking utility while spamming her NP with little help. Despite having more of a self-sufficient focus, she still brings damage support and NP gain support in the form of arts resist debuffs. Her biggest issue is her own lack of survival, but it's easily compensated for with the bountiful arts support we have access to. At NP2, she consistently outdoes her main competition. At NP1, she isn't as strong in burst, but can still outdo the competition in the long run with her frequent NP usage. Thanks for watching. Best luck on her rolls if you're rolling for her, or on whoever you're rolling for. Remember, we have a Discord server now, links in the description. Follow me on Twitch. I have a Patreon set up if you're down to donate a little bit. The NP gain guide is it keeps getting delayed because they keep messing around with the schedule, and also I'm kind of taking my time with it because I'm trying to make it as thorough and informative as possible. It's something I really don't want to mess up on. Anyways, that's my justification for procrastination. Thank you for watching. Please continue to watch and have a good one. Peace.